Good afternoon. I filed a patent 10 years ago about AI, of course. So there were 700 legacy systems, and within a $8 billion contract, yes, billion contract. But the real challenge came later, how to drive the same strategical goals, strategical outcomes in environments that are linear, environments where you have constraints and limited resources, and where the result of it is uncertain. That's the story I want to share today. But to start, let me talk a little bit about myself. I'm Luan Oliveira. I worked at IBM and AT&T for basically 10 years as a consultant. Then I moved to Capco and Boa Vista. You may not be familiar with Boa Vista, but you may be with Equifax, right? So Boa Vista is the Equifax Brazil branch. And there I led over 100 people. I managed most of them software engineers, some quality assurance people, and agile coaches. That was my direct management, but I was leading the digital transformation of the company. So that was about 35 teams. And we went beyond that. We went to marketing, legal, HR. So the whole scope was over 1,000 people. A challenge. That's where I met Business Map. And in 2022, I moved to Business Map as managing director in Brazil. And since 2024, I took the global position as chief revenue officer. So I want to share with you today three real stories with AI throughout this career, this 20 years that I've been on the road. The first story is about the patent. The context here is we start in 2013. It was an $8 billion contract between AT&T and the US federal government. So think about a global scope, military, embassies, consulates all around the globe. Now, the challenge here was to create one monthly telecommunications bill for the US federal government with all the services, voice, hardware, data, VoIP, all of it. And think about all the taxes, rules through dozens of different countries, especially Brazil is tricky, right? But these days, all countries are trickier in regard to taxes. And the technical complexity behind it, we engage over 700 systems, AT&T and IBM systems, for ordering, billing, anti-fraud, provisioning, all of it. And we had teams spread across mainly US, Brazil, Europe, and India. And my role there was to be the end-to-end system engineer. So I was the poor soul trying to put all the puzzle pieces together, right? Along with the program manager and the principal architect. Well, we struggle a lot. The struggles were abundant. First, manual requirements capture. So think about 700 systems that could be impacted by it. How often do you miss a system? How often you go on scope creep? How often you miss details that you find out a couple months later, and then all the rework with all your peer systems. Secondly, the parallel programming is the dependencies, right? So we had a huge program happening in parallel, which were impacting the very same systems. They were all migrating to microservices at the time. So we had a lot of dependencies, and that brought the program to real total chaos, more than 1 year of delay on the program because of the dependencies. Third, slow release cadences. We were not truly agile. I would ask a team, when are you going to deliver this scope in this sprint? And they said, oh, no. It's going to take 2 weeks, 2 sprints to code it, 2 sprints to test it, 1 sprint to integrate test, and a final sprint to deliver to production. So this is about 3 months. It's not truly agile, is it? Extreme global culture. My calls started 5 a.m. In Brazil, in São Paulo, with the India team doing the daily stand-up. And it would finish by 8 p.m. with Arizona and Dallas. Finally, most of these meetings, I had sometimes 15-minute meetings per day, sometimes almost 20. I don't think I have ever hit it 20, but almost there. But the problem with the meetings is that there was no real action, no real insights, no real data to make the decisions on the meetings. And that bothered me. So we structure 2 main challenges that we identified. First, deployment and governance. And the second with learning and execution, right? Deployment and governance, you want to ensure your strategy is executed. It's about what we're saying all day long, right? Action, execution, tied to strategy. You want to have rhythm, visibility, accountability, but in reality, lack of cadence, the follow-up, meeting without insights, no database decisions. And the problem with execution and learning, I love it, where Keith said, fail fast. I don't like that as well. It's learn fast, right? We want to have feedback loops to pump up the organization. But in reality, we had bureaucratic routines, meetings that don't generate action and low engagement. So, as a good engineer, what did I did? I created a massive Excel spreadsheet, right? Really. I created a spreadsheet that brings visibility. So we brought all the data from the project management software. I transformed that data with VBA coding, etc. It generated a JSON file that was consumed by HTML. And with that, we had visibility. We could see in a browser, in a simple browser, anyone could see all the dependencies of the program, all the metrics, the charts, the information to make better decisions. So that by itself drove a $2 million cost saving reported by IBM just on that spreadsheet. And the turning point was when we took that to the next level. Gerhard and I, as a PhD, it's another story, great peer, we've worked together multiple times, brilliant mind. We created this patent to simplify all the ecosystem, all the challenges that I mentioned. So we created this patent with AI model to predict system impacts from no requirements. And that's it. We have this patent there live since 2018 when it was accepted and viewed as a cognitive automation tool. You can research more about it or you can talk more about it if you want. Of course, IBM owns it. My name is just there, but it's nice. That was my legacy at IBM. I left there in 2018 and moved to a new world. And my question at the time was, after this AI-driven clarity, massive global contracts, because AT&T was so sure they would get the $8 billion contract, right? I don't know how that works. But the real challenge emerged. How do you achieve the same clarity in environments which are leaner, faster, and more chaotic? And that brings us to chapter 2, the ROI, from theory to the brutal reality of business. So I went to new horizons. I saw that Agile alone wasn't solving the real problems. And technology and requirements and business and just bridging that was no longer enough. So I learned a lot about strategy. I went to IPO, M&As, and more than that, learning about the business, the sales, the marketing, the HR, the culture, the change management, the legal team, listening to the legal team pain points. So the whole organization. And my discovery was that Agile had lost its bite. Ceremonies and frameworks weren't enough. Teams were suffering firefighting every day. And the executives, battered by daily volatility, couldn't care less about the theory. So they care about the money, or at least starting with the ROI part. You gotta have a good strategy. And to have a good strategy, there are 3 basic stages. You gotta diagnose your organization, so probably you're going to understand the current scenario, where you are, where you wanna go. And for that, you're going to do internal analysis, external analysis, SWOT analysis, interviews with the executives, right? Bring consultants to the table. But in reality, we lack of reliable data. There's very little availability from the leadership. As a consultant, I've been there. I don't know how many consultants here have tried to make agendas with executives and they had no time, no agenda available. Because they are focused on the urgent, on the firefighting, never on the important. Then we move, hopefully, to the definition of the strategy. So you set a vision, you set how you're going to achieve it. Maybe you establish ambitious goals, define your pillars of strategy. Hopefully, you're going to measure somehow with KPIs and maybe OKRs. In reality, there's no prioritization or purposization. The objectives are generic, right? Overambitious, and they're not linked to the reality of the teams. And finally, portfolio structuring. You want to organize the initiatives that will enable the strategic goals to be reached. And you're going to prioritize them and establish a cadence. But in reality, again, they are disconnected from the strategy. Too many great people, too many great ideas, right? But no one to make the hard calls about saying, no, we're not going to do this, and this, because we're focused on that part. So these are the 3 main problems I found with strategy. And the harsh truth is that the strategic plans are built in spreadsheets that take 6 months to be ready, to become irrelevant within 3. The operations are not aware of such strategies. They remain disconnected. Ambitious goals are set, but the teams don't get it, do they? And hence, execution becomes little more than wishful thinking. So, the real problem isn't choosing agile or traditional. It's why organizations keep bouncing between the extremes instead of fixing the basics. Because what I find is that a strategy becomes a parallel job. It's in another universe. It's not on the day-to-day activities of the team. It's not visible to the team. It's not connected to what they're doing. And it's connected from the firefighting, the pressure, the tickets, the debts the team has, the other unplanned actions that were set for the day or for the month. So the alternative to it is that I found we don't need more squads, post-its, or frameworks. What we need is a strategic distributed brain that can bring everything together. So a strategy goes in, results come out with intelligence, constantly adjusting the way. That brings to flow. So how do we bring AI? How do we bring ROI together? Focus on the strategy to action and make it flow. But before we talk about AI, I want to shift the perspective on AI. So for me, in my understanding here, it's not about replacing people. It's about multiplying strategic thinking. It's not about removing managers, but giving them clarity. And it's not about automating tasks only, but creating a strategic nervous system. So within this mindset, we can work. Because the real pain of organizations are the managers that are stuck in a firefighting mode. They don't have time to reflect. The teams are overloaded. 70% of the work is concentrated on a couple people. And roadmaps are ambitious, but delivery are typically late and quality inconsistent. So as a result, the strategy lives in a parallel world, in a parallel universe, and the teams are just trying to survive day by day. So here's the complete picture of it. The 5 stages, the objectives, the actions, and the common pain points that the organizations face. And I'm going to show you now 3 real case examples on how to fix these 5 problems using Business Map and AI. The first one, for me, the answer is applied intelligence. Let's say the organization has a high-level goal, okay? So you want to improve customer satisfaction. You define this goal, you have a brainstorming session, AI captures everything, ideas, problems, patterns, then automatically creates, propose 3 solutions to the problem. You choose. Based on your choice, it breaks down the work into OKRs, KPIs, success criteria. Neat. Then it's going to map the dependencies, breaking down the work until your real team's level. So everything is connected, from the strategy to the actions. And the best part of it is that it's all connected. So you have your metrics embedded into it, native. That means a strategy isn't a report anymore. It's alive. The second example, this, I don't know if you're familiar with RD Saúde. I don't think you are. It's a Brazilian company. It's the largest pharmaceutical company in Brazil, pharmaceutical retail company in Brazil. It sells AstraZeneca and many others products. And RD Saúde, I was astonished by this case because of many reasons. What they did there is they integrated strategic investment thesis. So notice how they shift the mindset. Since the strategy, we are talking about hypothesis on how we achieve the results we want. It's not for sure. Everything is uncertain. Everything is a test, experimentation, a hypothesis, since the high-level strategy of the company. And they integrated that with their knowledge base and business map. So now we know everything about their products, about the pharma regulation, about everything they know so far, and we train the AI models to automatically break down the work into epics, stories, features, OKRs, all of it. And that accelerated the concept to cash cycles. Now, in addition to it, they installed a lot of mechanisms to monitor customer behavior. So they were checking the sales bottlenecks. They were checking the app usage. Why didn't this customer close this product? What else can I add to it? How can I ensure it goes smoother, right? So they had these usage heat maps, formal regulations. So everything was in the end of the day turned into prioritized, actionable backlog for the teams to work on. Results. I believe that one tool or one person can change any company overnight. But you can start the change. It's not 1 week that will make a difference, but you may start noticing some difference in a week. Probably in a month. And hopefully after 1 year of hard work, you can start seeing some nice outcomes that you can be proud of, right? In this case, we started noticing 2 things really fast. Faster experimentation and clearer visibility of where value was leaking. So the feedback loops were fast, week by week. And that helped them to prioritize, to shut down initiatives which were leading them nowhere, and it was just an executive with an ego that his idea was really brilliant, but in reality it was leading the team to nowhere, just wasting time and effort, and focusing on what really matters. So this was the first 2 outcomes that they got in the very beginning, in the first weeks. After 2 years of the work, the real results came in. First, let's talk about ROI, right? They increased the revenue by 1,000%. They went from 100 million euro in their digital channels per year of revenue to 1 billion euro in 2 years. And cost reduction. They changed the tooling they had for strategy, for metrics, for team workflows, whiteboards, all of it. And they reduced the cost of tooling with Business Map by 40%. So ROI, increased profitability. That was a time where basically this executive had mandate to do whatever he wanted because the results were clear. But the best part of it is the following. The customer satisfaction and the employee satisfaction raised significantly. So that means you're delivering profit, yes, for the company, but you're respecting people. You are distributing better the workload for the people. You're giving more time for them to be with their families. You have happier customers, less noise, less complaints in the customer success, right, Nick? That helps a lot. So this case is public. It's in Portuguese, but I can send an English version if you want. It's beautiful. The testimonial of this executive makes me really happy. We have an awarded case back in Brazil in a big conference, but it's about the materialization of effort that we've been doing for 2-3 years. And that's something worth working for. Now, let me tell you about another use case. Here, it's the COO of or government organization in Brazil. It's related to, they provide service to government organizations in Brazil. And the COO had this problem, right, with analysis. I want to get insights faster. And I don't want to analyze it. I don't want to ask about how my project's going on. I want my project to tell me how it's going on and not ask people around about it. So we created an AI-powered analysis on top of it to give leaders a clear view of operational bottlenecks and quick wins. So basically, first, it does a diagnosis. It tells you workload is concentrated here and there, these deadlines are unclear, we have stalled items, the pipeline is unbalanced. Then it gives immediate actions for you. We distribute the tasks, unblock cards, do fix it, basically what you have diagnosis, and strategic improvements. So here, it tells you to establish WIP limits or daily syncs, dashboards, process reviews. It's really smart. It tells you, think about asking to ChatGPT or Gemini, how's my project going? It tells you everything and give you actionable insights on top of it. It's beautiful. Impact here, 40% efficiency from workload distribution, quality improvement with clear exit criteria, so quality by 65% and faster response through automated insights and updates. So 3 examples, real life, on 3 different companies where you apply intelligence in action. Since the diagnosis, the definition, automatically generating OKRs, KPIs connecting vision to the execution, portfolio structuring, automatically breaking down the work, keeping initiatives aligned and prioritized, deployment and governance, identifying bottlenecks, delays, overloaded teams, restoring, ensuring the cadence and the focus on the work, and finally, execution and learning, workload redistribution, the examples I just gave to you. Now, this reminded me, because some of you may know Business Map by Kamanice, formerly Kamanice, right? And at the time, we were really good at execution, at the execution level, but the platform grew. I mean, I know Business Map since 2019, and the platform evolved so much beyond Kanban and workflows that the only analogy I could make is when Steve Jobs launched the iPhone. It said, this is an iPod, an internet communicator, and a cell phone, not 3 devices, 1. And this is exactly what we have achieved now with Business Map. Not 3 platforms. Planning, execution, analysis, not 3 platforms. 1 system. The future of strategic management isn't choosing between frameworks. The future is having a strategy that lives and breathes with your operation. No longer 3 disconnected words, but 1 single, intelligent, connected system. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Luan. Have we got any questions for Luan and Business Map?
That was super clear.
We've got one. Oh, no, see, now hands come up. See, the
Nice.
to think. Annie, get on it. Microphone.
Hi, thanks for your talk. My question is, there's this fear of how to protect IP, intellectual property. Companies putting in a lot of data into AI, ChatGPT and the likes. How were they able to manage that?
Good question. Yeah, it's how to protect IP when we're evolving a product like Business Map, right? And by the way, we have a special giveaway for you for the question. Vicky will deliver it to you. It's a thermal one. So I will be totally honest with you. We tried twice to create AI into the product with external teams. It didn't work. Twice. We hired a bunch of really good people, knowledgeable, hard workers, twice. With different countries, different places, it didn't work. It only worked when our team, our core team, started looking at it in the core of the platform. Yeah, if it's just a plugin, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't do the job because it's not connected to the core of the operations and the strategy. So I think companies shouldn't be afraid of IP hijacking. Two things can come out of it. The first is that they will fail in delivering something that doesn't feel nice. And the other is that maybe they can potentially deliver something meaningful, which will become a product by its own connected to a platform like ours.
Okay, so you're saying that if a company wants to use that, they would have to provide their own platform, that internal platform for training the AI models because of all the data they're going to put in there. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, you're saying from a customer perspective.
Yes, from the organization perspective. Like if a company wanted to use business maps,
Okay.
for instance, to analyze their own project and all of
Okay.
that.
Okay.
The information they're going to put in there, is the IP protected? Like,
Yes.
is
Yes.
there no
Yes,
fear
definitely.
that it could go out there? Because I work with JLR. That is a major issue.
Yes.
We use Copilot, and then
Absolutely.
there's limited Copilot. Although now Copilot they have ChatGPT 5 in there, but it's still a problem. It's still a risk that we will
Yes.
try
Yes.
to avoid all the time.
Sorry, I thought you were becoming from a competitor perspective. From a customer perspective, no issues. We are A grade on all security standards. We have lots of big customers. Maybe I can tell you a few examples later on, but there are quite big UK companies, which are customers, Brazil or Europe, and they are very concerned about data privacy, especially as they store their strategy in the system. So we are very careful with that, and we don't have issues with that. We don't have access to it, to the data actually. Only the customer owns their data and is stored in top security systems, cloud-based, AWS in Ireland, high reliability. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question at the back behind you, Annie. Right at the end. And then we
Sorry, behind the behind the pillar. How do you see the evolution of AI that's generating insights into agentic AI that starts to make decisions?
I don't think we're ready for decision making yet, right? Especially given context, because we even with the best solutions, and who here uses ChatGPT? Raise your hand. Okay, most of it. Who uses other solutions in addition to ChatGPT? Quite a few, but less, right? So explore. There's a world beyond ChatGPT. There are some things that Cloud or Gemini and others will do way better than ChatGPT. And I think the point is we are not there yet. If you even the best solutions to generate, let's say, a video, it still requires quite some human context and effort to tailor to make a final product. So I don't think automatic decisions will be around for quite a while, at least on the context that I live in the complex business problems, like we're talking about hundreds, thousands of people. There's a lot of accountability involved into it. You can't delegate to a machine. If it goes wrong, who is accountable for it? So I don't think real big business are open to delegate such decisions to AI yet. But it can certainly give you perspective on what are the best options. Do you agree?
It feels that way, yeah. It feels some time off, and how you get to that point and generate that trust, I think it's going to take some time.
Yes, yes. I mean, autonomous vehicles, it's been around for more than 10 years, right? But many places still don't allow it. Who else?
Got 2 more questions. So we'll go in the middle here, Annie. We'll make Annie walk both ends of the...
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that chap asked that question because it sort of puts a different light, not only what I was going to say, but also I think on the story that you told. And I did like the story that you told. I would like a copy of that, not in Portuguese, because I don't speak Portuguese.
Yes, definitely.
Apologies.
To be helpful, will it?
Yeah, exactly. And so I got that, and that question helped me understand a little bit more because it thought, can you go back to your last slide? Because it fills me full of, sorry. Yeah, roll it on. No, roll it on. It was those three explanations on your last slide.
Which one?
Oh, you're
Last
going
one?
back too far. Go forward to the absolute last slide, apart from you.
Let's click.
Because it felt a little bit like there were, in that description, it felt a little bit like there were decisions being made, and especially in the no longer 3 disconnected worlds, but single intelligent connected system. So I worry with AI and the fact that actually people see what the options and think that's a decision being made. And I think so I'm from not necessarily a physical lean world. I'm from a knowledge workers lean world. And so there needs to be friction in that. I think like a strategy to execution is a creative process. Like you say, you're thinking of a hypothesis and you're thinking of how you can create that new world that is described in the strategy. And that's a creative process. And I think creative processes need friction. Like we have to be careful about automating that whole thing. I think we need more automation, where it's that automation, but so I just think like being very deliberate about saying, but with a human touch. Because it felt like in one of the case studies, it was like then actually that person who got all of that information then was told what the work would be and how that work would break down and then how it would be executed on. And it's like, ooh. Feels like, and in your answer to the gentleman, it felt like that's what you were saying. Actually, I was relieved then by that answer of that we don't need it to be so slick that we jump things that we should take notice of. That we need to, even if it's that slick, we need to know that's a suggestion. But then, is it the quote of we need to think with our feet? I can't remember the quote, but it's something like thinking with your feet and doing something with your hands, which essentially means go and do the work to understand the work that this AI has spat out a strategy for, because it doesn't know what we're doing, if you see what I mean. There's no questioning that. I'm really sorry, but it was a bit like I felt like that had to be said because I worry that is too slick.
I can elaborate on top of it. Agree. That's why I made the assumptions about AI.
Yeah.
It's not about automating and replacing people, but empowering them. But I must admit that in those case studies, it accelerated by, let's call it 10x, the time needed to break down the work and actually to generate ideas to recommend to a product manager. And I come from the same world, the knowledge work,
Yes.
Where the product person would need quite some days to digest a lot of information to come up with such suggestions. And now it's like, boom, you have that. And even better, you can estimate the effort to do it. So it makes easier the choices. But I will share next lecture I reinforce on it. But
Yes.
you choose.
Yes.
You choose.
It's white box versus black box AI ultimately, isn't it? You know, white box is having a human interface in the agency. Black box is it's completely divorced from your eyes.
Yes.
And it just runs automatically.
Exactly. It's a white box. It's human interactive. Definitely.
I think that's time. Thank you for all your questions. And yeah, obrigado, Luan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.